place like home. There's no place.
Home. Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you.
Well, hi there, and welcome to Hour 2 of Home Wizards. We love to help improve your home and improve your life. I'm Cindy Dole.
Hey, I'm Eric Stromer.
How you doing, Eric?
Hi, I'm doing great.
You're in Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama with a banjo on my knee.
Okay. Well, we're here together to help you no matter where you are. Enjoy the spaces you call home. And one of those spaces just may be outside where magical things can happen, right?
Well, you know, they really can, especially when it comes to, you know, the whimsical idea that there are crazy other creatures out there in your woods or in your garden. I love that.
Well, so for me, in our garden, we just at Christmas time got our first gnome. Now, when I say gnome, this is a ceramic gnome. It's a little guy, and he's standing there. I mean, it's kind of a funky, you mentioned whimsy, creative thing you can do to express yourself. And you might even have other kinds of garden art that might even look like it's a fairy with wings or dragonflies. But what if you were to have real fairies and real gnomes? Well,
if I had that, then, you know,
You'd never leave.
I would never leave.
You'd never leave. And that's how Linda Shaylor Cooper feels about her garden and the gardens that she's created all over Southern California. Linda, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
So you believe in real fairies and gnomes that come to the garden, and talk about how throughout Orange County over the years you've created these gardens that bring these spirit entities to the yard.
Yes, that's true. I have always been fascinated with the fairy realm and always wondered if they exist. And I became absolutely passionate in my early 30s in working in my own garden. And I always thought, well, I wonder if they really do exist. So I woke up spiritually around that time, and I had found a teacher, and my first question to her was, do fairies exist? And she said, of course they do, my dear. And she went into her library and came out with a book by Daphne Charters called A True Fairy Tale. And when I read that book, it just absolutely amazed me, as Daphne had lived in England, and she had running conversations with the fairies in her garden, and they told their story through her writings that she then put in this book, which to me is the best information I've ever experienced. So as I was working with my gardens, I came to realize that I was co-creating with the nature spirits, meaning the fairies, the gnomes, the dragons. And the way that I could tell that it was happening was, number one, my gardens that I created, including my own garden, just grew to these gigantic proportions. And the gardens just shimmered with a light that wasn't present in other gardens surrounding the areas. So I saw that there was something different going on. And then, because I couldn't see them, I've always wanted to see them, but I couldn't, I started getting a sensation like a burning in my hands that told me that they were working with me. So with that, I just got really excited about the reality of it all. And, of course, I've read every single book known to womankind around the fairy realm and all of that. So I decided to call myself the garden fairy. And I used to tell my clients that the fairies and the gnomes would be coming with me. And, of course, they were delighted. And so my garden business just grew, and people who came into my gardens.
So Linda, as people were coming to you asking for your landscape design expertise, were they saying intentionally that, hey, we want to have a fairy garden? I mean, were they requesting this?
No, they kind of looked at me sideways. But
Oh, so you admit that some people might think this sounds kooky.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they might, but I have now physical proof of them through this book that I've created called Embracing the Spirit of Nature, with actual photographs of fairies and gnomes. You know, I've looked all over the internet for books or for photos of fairies, and I haven't seen anything, mostly books with drawings of fairies and gnomes and dragons that people may have psychically seen and then drawn them. But this book that I've created actually has photographs of fairies and gnomes in fire, air, and water, and in the plants. So I'm so excited to be able to present this. So it'll help. What it'll do, it really helps people expand their visual perception.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what are the distinctions between the fairies and the gnomes? What's the difference?
Well, fairies are beings that work with they bring the colors from the rainbow into the plants, and they bring the green and the brown to the bark, and all the colors to the flowers, and they stay with the flowers or the plants until they're no longer alive, and then they go on to another one. The fairies in the water keep it moving and keep it energetically clean and flowing. The gnomes are responsible for the earth and bringing the elements to the trees and the roots. So they each aspect of this realm of reality, which is aligned to the angelic realm, and they are in service to humanity, because what they do is they hold the form of everything that we see around us, including there are house fairies and there are healing fairies. There are...
It sounds kind of crowded. There's so many fairies out there.
Well, all space is filled with these beings. One of the ways you can see them is if you
Welcome
look
back.
up into
Home Wizards here. We love to
the
help
blue
improve your
sky.
home and improve your life.
Keep
I'm
your-
Cindy Dole.
your
Hey,
vision
it's
on
Eric
it,
Stromer.
and you'll
So what are you
see,
thinking
like,
about
movement.
fairy gardens, Eric? Mm-hmm.
And those
Well,
are
I
like
want
the
to
very
see. I want to see a
rudimentary
fairy in my
forms
garden
of
so
nature
bad.
spirits. And so what they
and I just
do
want to know
is
how I
they
can get one.
I
they
know.
evolve
What do you
through
do?
You have to
divine will,
believe like a child,
as
I'm
compared
thinking. You have to have that
to
open
we
mind.
as
And Linda
humans have
Shaylor
free
Cooper
will.
is a landscape
So
designer
they
who
have a
has
particular
created
evolution
over
that
the
they
past many years,
follow,
specifically in the Orange
and
County
they
area,
also go into the
fairy
astral when they're
gardens. So
finished
Linda,
with
thanks for
their
talking with us today. When I
particular
got
focus
this news release about your
and
book, I thought,
evolve,
this is so intriguing.
and then they come
We haven't
back
ever talked to
down
anybody
onto the
about
earth plane
creating
to
real
serve in a
fairy
higher
gardens. I mean, what
vibration.
is it about
Now,
us wanting to connect
they
with these
don't have a
mythical creatures, you
consciousness
think?
like we do until they become actual. Excuse me, there are many fairy stories, and then we all experience in a different way, and they're affected by the elements, classic fairy stories. So we have.
Well, Linda, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, maybe you can guide us into
children.
some physical
Do we
things
ever
that we
really
might
wonder
consider in
if
our
they
landscape
exist?
to bring our
And,
own,
I guess my
Tinkerbell,
job has
if you
become
will,
to show that, yes, they
to our
do
yard.
exist through
Right?
these photographs.
It's fun. Linda Shaylor Cooper,
So,
these are
she
photographs
believes
of plants,
in
like you
fairies
say,
and
and
of
she designs
waterfalls
fairy
and-
gardens and things that you so see
keep
in
your
nature
mind
or
and
your
your
spirit
garden.
open, because who
Yes,
knows?
well,
It
they're
might just
in
be
the
something
water,
that you want
they're
to
in the
have,
air,
not
they're
as
in
a
the
ceramic
fire,
art form,
they're
but a real thing,
everywhere.
right?
They're
Eric Stromer,
in all
Cindy
the
Dole,
empty
Home
space
Wizards, as we
that
love to help
we
improve your
don't
home and improve your life. We're back in just a
visually
moment.
see unless our psychic abilities are open. Here in third dimension, we have a narrow, visible focus. Anyway, the way that I experienced them, as I told you, was through doing the gardens and realizing they were there. But when I decided to do this project, I had the idea, well, maybe they'll show up in the photographs. And so what I did was I opened my heart and my mind, and I created the intention that I would like them to show up on the camera, and I asked for guidance, gave gratitude, and then also, of course, I believe in them, which is really important. And incredibly enough, they showed up. It actually amazed me. So then the way they showed up, instead of as orbs, because a lot of times in photographs you'll see orbs and you'll go, what are those? But the way they showed up in these photographs was in actual forms that I could relate to. as in winged beings or animal faces, or actually looking like fairies, with a body. And so the gnomes, you can see them in the tree trunks. So what's happened to me is, since my vision has expanded, because now I know what they look like, I can sense them in the garden. So what I did was I sort of got an intuition about where I should go to look for them, because I don't always see them right away.
Well, give us some tips on how to bring those experiences to our own yard. I mean, you've designed 3,000 or plus landscapes, you were saying. Are there specific plants or water features or things that will bring that fairy garden feeling to our own homes?
Well, what I have found is that I love gardens that are somewhat wild looking. If you keep everything just really tight and cut, it doesn't bring in the flow. So you want to think of like a river flowing. And when you plant your garden, you just make everything move in a flowing motion.
So a lot of grasses maybe, huh?
Well, grasses, upright rosemaries, all kinds of different flowers, because the different colors bring in the fairies. Different, you want to have variations upon a theme of green, as well as different trees with leaves, different sized leaves. You don't want to have too much spike. You want round shapes, spiky shapes, and you want them all to move like a river, because the eye really likes that.
Yeah.
But to bring in the fairies and the gnomes, I mean, they're there anyway, because you wouldn't have the plants surviving if the fairies and gnomes weren't holding the form for you, because what they do is they inhale cosmic energy and they exhale it into the plant material to keep it alive.
I'm wondering what they think about my little gnome that I have in my yard that's made out of ceramic. They probably don't like that.
They probably think he's like a Bob's Big Boy advertisement.
No, they love that.
Okay.
It's so important to surround ourselves with beauty, in my opinion, because what beauty does is it opens and expands our heart and puts us in a place of gratitude. So when we're in our homes need to be beautiful, and the fairies love that. They love beautiful things, and they like sparkly things.
And you said that they like crystals, too. You were sharing a picture of your backyard or pool area, and you have a lot of large crystal, I guess you'd call them rocks, right, or pieces that are kind of all around the waterfall that leads into your pool.
Yes, the crystals bring in another whole vibration. And as a matter of fact, many of the images in my book, I found fairies and gnomes in the crystals. So, and what they do is they hold the form of the crystal, and then they're continually transmitting information from the cosmos into Mother Earth. So they're like senders and receivers, and they stay in communication with one another. So the other thing, which is wonderful to have in your landscape as well as inside your home, are the crystal beings. They're just They raise the vibration on your property as well as in your home, and they're absolutely magic to look at.
So really,
what else can you do in your specific garden to attract them? Well, you know how you can have certain plants that attract butterflies. How do you bring in a fairy?
Well, as I said, they're already there.
They're there.
So then, conversely, how do you get rid of them if they're pesky?
How do you get rid of them?
You don't want to, because then your plants would die.
Oh,
so they will basically. It's like having a garden on steroids. If you have fairies that live in your real ones and gnomes, they're nurturing the plants. It sounds like, huh?
Exactly.
So they make us have a green thumb. If we have a dark thumb, they're going to give us a green thumb.
Well, if you call them in and you acknowledge them and show gratitude, tell them that you love them. I mean, we all respond to love.
So who needs the Sunset Garden book? We just need fairies.
Exactly. Well, we have them already, but they just want us to know by showing up in my photographs in my book that they exist.
That they're there.
And so what they respond to is love. We all respond to love. So when you go out into your garden and you give gratitude to them for the beauty that they are showing us, they respond incredibly. And that's why in those garden photos that I sent you, you see how alive everything is. It's just, everything will start shimmering and it'll change, and your perception will change through your intention and your giving gratitude and love to these unseen beings.
So instead of seeing an apparition in a piece of toast, right, we're seeing a winged creature in a waterfall.
Exactly. Well, as I said, they're everywhere. They're filling space.
Okay. Well, tell us, what is your website so people can find out more and see some of these pictures and judge for themselves, Linda? What is your website?
The name of my website is The Crystal Garden Fairy.
TheCrystalGardenFairy.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that the fairies and the gnomes and the images right there, and they are very intriguing. And you do have a beautiful sense about you in terms of the landscape design. So who knows? Maybe Eric and I can bring some fairies to our yard.
Oh, you can.
We will do
You
our
definitely
best.
Can. Well, I just wanted. I will be doing a presentation called "Designing with Spirit" at Casa Romantica on the 23rd of February at 7 p.m.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much. We will check out your website. Again, that was Linda Shaylor Cooper. She is the Crystal Fairy Gardener. Check it out, thecrystalgardenfairy.com. Coming up next, Eric's got some help for us. If you are a dog lover like I am, and Eric and I both love pets, we want to help figure out a way to build a great dog house, and also where to put the dog bowls. Right, Eric, in our kitchen? I'm just sitting there on the floor.
I'm just battling fairies in my hotel room right now.
You're battling them. Yeah. Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole, helping you improve your home and improve your life. Fairies or not, Home Wizards. More continues after this.
Maybe a nice Chesterfield or an ottoman. And if I had $1 million, if I had